to be talking about warehouse setup and the different ways that we can break up a warehouse and store inventory. So the first part of this, right, is actually creating a location. So to do that in the administrator role, I'm going to go to Setup Company, and I'm going to select locations. I could select new if I immediately want to go ahead and create a new location, but in this case, I'm going to go to the locations list. So this is going to show me my list of all my locations, right? Again, I could select that new location button, but for now, I'm just going to select edit on my Chicago warehouse. So there's a couple details we need to fill out, right? We can fill out our name. Let's say the Chicago warehouse was a child location under a parent location of just Chicago. I can specify that parent location there. When I first create this location, I can't change the subsidiary after I save the location record. I'll set my location type to warehouse. Again, I can select time zones, document number prefixes. If there was a specific, prefix for this location that purchase orders are created from, I could add that here. Use bins is very important. If we are using bins, we need to have this checked. Make inventory available, use warehouse management, and WMS make warehouse sites are our three most important checkboxes for making this location a warehouse. These are going to make this available. We're going to make it so that we can receive inventory into them, we can do inventory movements, and we can use them in the WMS mobile app if we are doing that. We can also set addresses and a whole host of other information if we want to. So the next part of warehouse setup is we need to set up what are called zones. Now, zones don't really do much in NetSuite besides we can use them for picking and put away strategies if we want, and just sectioning out in general where the bins are. And there's two types of zone lists that we need to create. So what I typically do is I just type in page zone or zones. And what we'll do is we'll go to zones and then WMS zones. So it's a little funny how this ends up working out, but this is our list for just the zone page. Now I'm going to edit one of the zones that I have. You can see in the Chicago warehouse, I have my outbound staging zone where I'm going to stage things as I'm packing them. I have my receiving staging where I might take something off the truck, put it in this location while I'm waiting for maybe myself or another team to put it away to a storage bin. And then I have, maybe a cold storage area or a couple other zones. When I click and edit that zone, really all I have is a name. I can enter a description, right? Cold storage, and then I set a location. And after I save that zone for the first time, can't change the location. Now, the other thing that we need to do for bin setup is go to the WMS zone list. And this is truly just a list of WMS zones. If I click and edit the outbound staging, you can see there's literally just one field here. It's not tying it to any sort of location. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up bins if we're using those bins, right? So I'm going to go to this bins page. The way to get here from the administrator role is by going to lists, supply chain, and bins. I can click new if I immediately want to create one. Otherwise, I can just go ahead and click this little bins, and that's going to take me to my list. I can always add a filter for location here if I just want to filter off and just see the Chicago warehouses. Otherwise, I can click any of these column headers to filter in that way also. So in my Chicago list, I don't have very many bins, but we can go ahead and edit one of these bins. So let's edit 1A, 1C. Now we see we have our bin number. Type is very important for how that bin will interact with inventory. Inbound staging, right? That's what we're going to use for our receiving staging location. Outbound staging, this will allow it on the mobile app to show up for packing in the packing app. Picking, storage, and none are all fine for different storage bins. They have slightly different permissions, but pretty much they do all the same thing. Vendor returns, right? If we want to use that in the mobile app for vendor returns, and then WIP for work orders. I can enter a sequence number, right? If I want to change how pickers are going to each of these different bins, I can add a sequence number here to send them in the correct pick sequence. Now, when I create a bin and I save it, I can't change that location afterwards. I would need to delete the bin and recreate it. Here's where I'll select those zones I just created that are tied to the warehouse. You'll notice when I look at this list, I don't see all of them. I just see the ones for the Chicago warehouse. I can enter a memo if I want. I can block this from wave order picking. We'll have a separate video that looks at creating a wave. I can also set pallet positions. I have some fields here for replenishment, as well as pick sequence and put away sequence numbers. And then I also have a bin location type, right? This is important for inbound and outbound staging, and then work orders as well. I've set my aisle to A. I can set a level if I want, and then stage direction again is important for those inbound or outbound staging bins. And then this is where I select my WMS zone, which you can see is required for this record. This is also another replenishment field. I can set this bin as a cart if I want to use that in the mobile app for picking or for put away. And I can also use this in the WMS mobile app for manufacturing mobile if I needed to.